Mahesh Bindra.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, policing is and always has been the core responsibility of the state. The citizens have the right to feel safe in their homes and in their businesses. And indeed, as a first world progressive country, we all have the right to demand that our streets are safe also. Mr. Speaker, New Zealanders pay their taxes to enable the state to fulfill that responsibility. As much as it is the responsibility of the state to keep its citizens safe, it is also the responsibility of the citizens to pay their taxes fairly, equitably, and honestly. New Zealanders by far are reputed to be very honest in fulfilling their duties towards the state, and therefore have the right to expect that the state also reciprocates in the same manner. Mr. Speaker, the Law and Order Select Committee during its proceedings heard a large number of submissions from private citizens, from NGOs, and from community organizations. Mr. Speaker, almost all of them were very, very concerned that this legislation, after being passed, will force them to incur extra costs as far as their waiting requests are concerned. Mr. Speaker, now let's take the figure of the latest figure thrown is $8.50 per waiting. Now, we have also been told that about 500,000 requests are received annually by the police. So by those calculations, Mr. Speaker, it works out to 4.25 million that the police will generate out of this process. Whereas the cost that has been told to us is only $2.2 million for vetting process at the moment, at this stage. So, Mr. Speaker, this actually means that this is not cost recovery, it is shameless profiteering. It is profiteering, Mr. Speaker, when you spend only $2.2 million, I mean, the government spends only $2.2 million for vetting, and they recover or are likely to recover $4.25 million. So this is not cost recovery, it is profiteering. Mr. Speaker, New Zealand First believes that keeping our communities safe through policing is the core responsibility of the state, and police vetting is inseparable from basic policing. The police force and the services it provides are funded from tax revenue, and we believe that it should stay that way. New Zealand First believes that taxpayers should not have to pay for a vetting service with a separate fee. We believe that police should carry out vetting as part of their core policing work. We also believe that this bill will provide the impetus for police to start charging for their services they currently provide as core business, such as attending to emergencies, family violence incidents, property crime, or child abuse incidents. We are strongly against this, Mr. Speaker. The Vulnerable Children's Act 2014 requires standard screening and vetting of all central government and government-funded contractors working with children. This will be a voluntary regime for businesses, NGOs, and voluntary organizations, but will be reviewed in 2 years. Mr. Speaker, now this is going to set a bad precedent. At the moment, we are saying that only $8.50 will be charged, but there's nothing in this legislation to stop the police from increasing these charges. So from $8.50, it has actually come up from $5 to begin with to $8.50. And this bill is not even passed yet. So we have a suspicion that this will very quickly raise to a very high figure, such as maybe $50 or even more. So that is the concern that all the submitters had, and that is the concern that we have got, Mr. Speaker. So the powers are vested with the police commissioner as to what exemptions he or she can make for the organizations which will not be charged fees for vetting services. So, Mr. Speaker, that itself actually makes the legislation very ambiguous, and there are gray areas left there, Mr. Speaker. Equally, the commissioner will later on have the powers to increase the cost because there won't be any parliamentary debate on that. That will be a matter of regulations, and the police commissioner will be able to increase the rates of police waiting charges. So that itself, Mr. Speaker, says that depending on what he or she likes, he'll be able to actually charge the organization that he wishes to, and he will be able to exempt those organizations that he feels fit. So that is not a very fair distribution of the revenue that is going to be collected, Mr. Speaker, or is intended to be collected. Paying for the service will increase compliance costs, which will have a negative impact on the operational budgets of schools, particularly small schools, Mr. Speaker. New Zealand First do not support this bill. Thank you.